What's up, fellas?
What's going on, man?
What's happening?
All right, so this is our second run at this. Hopefully, we get it right this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, last one of these we try to record had some technical difficulties, but I feel like all my systems hooked up right now, so we can do this thing. So, Tequila Talk, we are back.
Yeah, we're back. That was a good one too. That was a real good one. I think we talked a lot about family. We talked about work and owning your own business and sacrifices and growing up as parents too.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure once we get this flowing, it'll all come back to us.
Yeah, because I don't remember. So
well, at the end of the day, we had a great conversations and we got to sip tequila. So I mean,
That's what
all
we do.
matters.
So what we're drinking now, so we don't have everything we had last time.
No, we had a Fortaleza last time. We had this Chase Generones, or however you say that. Mm-hmm. And then we had, what did you bring last time?
I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah, he brought the two.
It was really good.
Yeah, they were really good.
They were like I just picked up some things off the shelf.
Yeah,
and then
good.
I think the Fortaleza took it
well,
home last time.
the Fortaleza I bought a Blanco last time.
Yeah,
this time
Blanco,
I brought the Reposado.
Ah, nice.
So this is
okay.
And yes, I did dig into a sound because my son was home this
you couldn't
past
help
weekend.
yourself.
No, I was like, you know what, I share it with my son, and like I said, it's about the moment, enjoying it. And
yeah.
So.
Well, then I have let's see here, an 1800, which I correct me if I'm wrong. I think last time we tried an 1800, we didn't like it.
Well, I think the last time we also had...
It was with tears, though, I believe.
Was it with tears?
Yeah,
I don't know.
so.
I remember we had
Tears.
some really good stuff.
I think I remember it not being terrible, but...
Or it was with the queso.
It was the fact that, 1800 is kind of billed as like a top shelf thing.
Don Pablo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the extra añejo.
Yep.
And that was so good. That one was really good.
And then we have what Jose brought,
which is Casa Dragones. They're sipping tequila, which
is the
is not what I thought it was.
This is the urine sample of the gods.
But we're pleasantly surprised. So
yes, we're very excited about this one.
Hell yeah! Well, we already have some. So we already have some Trace Cinerones poured up. So let's get this thing rolling.
Cheers.
Yes, it's a good way to start it off.
Oh yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's nice. It's got it's very woodsy. I don't remember woodsy last time.
Yeah,
it's probably because it's been opening a
Right,
little
chance
air,
to
maybe.
breathe a little bit.
Yeah. And
Well,
I think we had mentioned too that this particular tequila Tres Generaciones has been around for a while, but they have some new branding now.
Yeah.
And I think I meant to dig into that, but I'm almost 100% sure that they rebranded everything. But
yeah, because they used to have like a bottle with a thin top and a big old bottom, like a good girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was kind of threw me off the first time I saw it in a store too. I was like, did somebody buy them out? It doesn't. From their reputation and everything I've seen and from what I tasted, it doesn't match them.
Right.
It's too basic. I don't know what they're trying to do with that, but
it stood out to, which is funny because I bought that at Specs before that last show, and it stood out to me. I guess because I haven't seen the bottle before. I guess they just did that recently.
Right. I think so. Yeah.
Well, it's apropos of your last guest, which I really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah.
By the way, who was in Korea.
We have to try some of that alcohol.
That I was talking about that, but you had talked about my shirt last time.
Yes.
This group, Blackpink.
Yes.
And we talked about K-pop.
Yes.
That's what they are.
Yes.
But when I was listening to his story, they are not three individual girls. They're a product. And what I mean by that, every moment of their life is dictated by the record company.
Yeah.
When they eat, when they sleep, when they go to the bathroom, everything. And when you see them and they work hard. I mean, they work really hard. And I see, little videos and stuff, and they're on stage and they're about to pass out and cry from the pain, but they have to keep going because they're a product. And when he was talking about how Korea is and how they handle their people and the thing, and it's a great country. I mean, it was wonderful, but he's right. It's not the same as here.
Well, our industry used to be that way 20, 30 years ago. So I think, like you said, they are a little behind where we are, and I think that their music industry is currently like ours was in the 70s, 80s. Right.
But the access to information today is nothing like it was back then.
Right, of course.
So when they put out something, today, we hear it tonight.
Yeah.
So we all see how they do it, but again, it's controlled. And if you ever get a chance to look at it, kind of look at it, but they're all products, and they all look the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a little meme one time that said they couldn't judge the Miss South Korea pageant because they all looked identical, and there was like 50 people, and they all looked identical.
That's
Every one of
crazy.
the women looked identical because of the plastic surgery.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But my shirt is this group, and my son and I this weekend we're going to Dallas for the. Convention. Well, it's called Dallas Fan Days, but it's like an anime convention, and
Nice.
like Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah.
And James Raymer's going to be there. He's an actor who I played golf with while he was here filming Thief. I told my wife, I said, hey, James Raymer's going to be at Fan Expo. She's like, no. I was like, yeah. And you probably remember him from he was in A Miracle on 34th Street. He was one of the not the bad guys, but he was on the other side of the group of people, and then he was also in a movie called Renaissance Man. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
That is a phenomenal movie with Danny DeVito.
Okay.
Watch it. It's a great movie. It's really, really good. It was directed by Penny Marshall, I think. Penny Marshall or her brother. But anyways, he's a really nice guy. He's been in a lot of stuff, and I found the card that he signed, because every time we play golf with somebody, I'd have him sign a card for me, a Stonebridge card. And so I'm going to go take it back and be like, hey, but my wife's a real big fan of his, and she had a chance to meet him, and we had lunch together, and she's like, well, I don't play golf. And he's like, you should play golf, sweetie. And my wife is like,
Okay, I'll play now.
I'm right here, it's okay though. But so we're excited about that. And but the if you get a chance to watch, do you watch South Park at all?
Dude, I haven't in forever, but
Yeah,
it's
really,
probably one of the best like comedies show. Like that show has lasted 20 years now.
Yeah, 20. And it's the only show in TV history, at least today, that I know of, and I could be wrong, maybe they've changed it, but they're the only show in history that the executives do not even see the show until we all see the show.
Yeah.
There's no notes.
They've talked about how Comedy Central hasn't really regulated them and let them do what they want. Wherever they've tried to regulate everyone else, and that's why Dave Chappelle left and things like that. And it's because you're not touching them.
They're not. And I said South Park, but what I really meant was Family Guy.
Family Guy is amazing. Yes,
they go
Seth
to Korea.
MacFarlane. Yeah,
they go to Korea, and there's an episode called Candy Quahog Marshmallow. Okay. And they go to Quahog, and then they watch this K-pop video, right? And so they're all watching it, and there's these K-pop girls dancing and everything. And then it stops, and Peter goes, "What is this? And how do I make the rest of my life about it?" And that is the funniest thing, because Sage and I, first time we saw it, like, what is this?
Yeah.
How have we not? How do we not know about this? And so, but it's really it's good. It's good music. I think I sent you guys some videos.
Probably
I don't know
so.
if you did or not. Yeah, I feel like maybe that night after.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's
Probably not the best night to be sending. No, but going back, I just thought like it was really cool, like on the last podcast you did with Shay, because I haven't actually had a chance to finish it. I started it and I listened to it, and it's kind of like a testament. Like it goes to, like, I know him on a, I wouldn't say personal level, it's more a professional level of sorts. Like, we talk all the time, but it's always about music. Like,
right.
Hey, when are you coming out to the brewery? We've had them at the brewery a couple times. They were just at our anniversary, and like they're one of our
congratulations.
Yes, I was
thank you.
congratulations.
They're one of our favorite bands, and we love having them there. But you don't know that side of people, what's behind the artist or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's cool to kind of hear people's life story, and that there's more to that person than
that was
But in those scenarios, and y'all know better than anybody, like you don't. In those types of relationships, you don't actually have time to actually get to. It's more of a.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was like when I met him, we were at a friend of ours, and we were doing a crawfish boil, and I've known him and had business conversations with him via email and stuff, but I've never met him. And he started telling me some stuff. I said, "Stop!
Yeah.
You're coming on the show because this is some juicy shit, and I want to hear it on the show." And I tell everyone that. I met someone else not too long ago too, and I told him the same thing. Like, don't tell me, quit telling me. It was actually over this weekend. Like, I was just like, hey, I want to hear all this, but please wait. I'm going to get you on the show. I want to hear this shit like real time, and I want everyone to experience my reaction in real time. I don't want to be like, you're telling me the same thing you told me last week or whatever. But yeah, dude, it was amazing what it's just to hear anyone's story is awesome. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, you just turned a year old with the Seventh Tap Brewery. So congratulations!
Thank you.
Yes, and I missed it, but it was awesome that before we did this last show, we were talking about you getting ready for that.
Yeah.
And now since then, I mean, you've had it. So how'd everything go?
Everything went amazing, man. Left there that night, like I was telling you earlier, like those types of things, like they're not for you. Like they're for you, but they're not. Like you put on those types of events for the community and for other people to come out and have fun. But at the end of the day, when it's all done, is when you get to kind of sit back and kind of see what you created. So I mean, it's been a fun year, full of ups and downs, but it's just it changes quick. Where it's like the next day, it's all right. It's back to the grind. Like what's next? What are we going to do to make it even bigger and better the next year? So
and you're at that point now where you are pretty much playing I guess you could call it spackle. You have to fill in all those little tiny holes where just got overlooked or forgotten.
Yep.
So and when DJ and I were at your place and DJ did the bar that was doing the pulled pork tacos, which are freaking amazing.
Thanks.
It was interesting to watch you because you were running around doing different things, and that's kind of the role that you have when you get to a certain level. I mean, you build it, and then you get people to do the things that you thought nobody in the world could do except you, until you get somebody else to do it, and you go, "Oh, okay, I guess somebody else can do that," you know. And then you go around and you fill in all those little gaps,
right.
Everything, and so you're never sitting still. You're always.
Well, yeah, I think over time, you kind of learn to, who you can lean on to do certain things or whatever. But I think like what's always been the most important thing with me with the Seventh Tap is that like that whether it's me personally, but also us three as as an ownership, is that our presence is felt, that our employees know we're there, that we got their back, and also I think for patrons and stuff when they come in, I think it means a lot when they see you there and actually being involved and doing certain things that maybe is like, oh, he could just get an employee to do that, but he's doing it, or he's doing certain things that he could be making other people do. But I think that's just kind of where I'm at with it, where I want that involvement.
And what is your ultimate involved goal? Your ultimate when would you be like, I'm good? We've made this. What would your involvement be? Would it be that you come in a little bit every now and then and check the books?
Yeah, and honestly, it's weird, and I don't know that. I think if at the end of the day, like the Seventh Tap is, providing my family a comfortable living, and that is my full-time job, and I'm still doing as much as I'm doing now, I would be very happy with it.
And on that, we're going to go back. We're going to backtrack to our last episode because we talked about this, and it's very important.
I love when you run this thing, so I don't have to, man. Feels good.
We talked about owning business, and we talked about Bojack's and Bo. We talked about him and Peanut, and we talked about that. It was a fascinating episode that you had with him, especially realizing, and you see a lot of, especially young kids and people like that, they look at somebody like him and they go, "Oh, well, must be nice."
Oh man,
you know what?
That happens to everyone.
It's nice now,
but it wasn't. Anyone in any successful position, everyone always has something to say.
Yeah.
No matter who it is.
Yeah.
And the good thing about him was what he talked about was that, there was one day they had $80 in the bank.
Yeah.
And they just went back and forth to the store and were able to, at the end of the day, they had money.
Yeah.
And then you had talked about that he was a great business mind, that you had talked to him, and there was one thing that he told you should do and you haven't done it yet. What was that?
I was quit my job.
Quit your job. It was quit your job. And we had a really good, and forgive us if this all sounds, because the emotion and the mood with which we had talked about all this the first time was just spontaneous.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But that is, I think in some cases, you know what, if your job is pulling you away from your passion, then quit your job. But if your job is helping you realize your passion and your goal, then don't quit that job.
Right.
Especially because health insurance.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I did my oil and gas position after we started my company for a year. And then after, like, I did it as long as I could possibly do it, and it was literally, we were at the 12-month mark, and the one of the partners in the oil and gas company called me and said, "Hey, man, I see you have this company you're working with." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I'm owner of it." He's like, "Well, you can't work there and here." I was like, "Well, peace."
Yeah.
But I was riding out as long as I could, but like, and I probably would have rode it out even longer, and it would have stretched me really thin. But I'm glad. But it took me about a year to where I felt like we had enough revenue going.
Yeah.
Where I could step away from my day job. But I mean,
but did you feel that you contributed more after you quit?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, because I mean, at that point, I'm 100% like, it's a different, and you're going to go through this, Jose, but it's a different mindset. And I'm sure Ben's been through it too, working for someone than going to work for yourself. You're going to see a transition there to where you're like, okay, it's fight or flight.
Right.
It's fight or flight. Like,
Yeah.
I have to get my ass up and work today because I know that this guaranteed paycheck's not going to be there anymore.
Right.
But it makes you, dude, it turns on the hustle. If you already have the hustle and you're doing it as a side hustle, like, the hustle is amplified times 10. Like, I'm telling you, it's insane.
But the good thing about your business, and this is you've started building the momentum that you need.
Right.
A lot, when you look at how many businesses fail in the first year and then how many in the second and the third year, it's like, okay, was it poor management? Was it a bad business plan? Was it just that they thought it was a good idea and they ran with it? So you've gained, and I don't want to say the hard part's over because it's not, but what's good is you've established a foundation. You've really done an incredible job. I mean, when I went back and saw it the last time, it had improved and grown. So the first time I had seen it, and which was maybe 6 months ago. So you've got something good, and you've got, I think, the right mindset, and your partners also have the right mindset. Because I had a friend of mine who was a third owner in a alcohol distributorship here, and I had gone into business with him, not in alcohol because I'd be rich right now, but I had gone into business with him. But he was a third owner of one of the distributorships here, and he wanted to buy out his partners. And he said, they did a business plan, and he goes, I'll buy your shares, your 2/3 for this much. And they're like, nah, we want this much. It's like, no, I can't pay that. He goes, but if you want to buy me out, I'll let you buy me out, but you have to buy me out for what you said you wanted.
What yours was worth.
What yours was worth.
You said yours was worth.
What yours was worth. And they did. And he's rich now. But again, that's one of those things where if you can have a partnership and you can be honest with each other, Right. Now, how did you get, and I'm sure you talked about this in your podcast with him, but I don't really remember, but how did you three decide what you were going to do and how you were going to split up the duties, and how much has changed since the beginning?
I think it kind of just happened naturally. Like, you see what people are good at and what they thrive at.
Strengths.
And it's kind of like, me, as far as like running the tap room, my, setting up events and, just talking to people. Like, that's my thing. Like, I enjoy that. And, they know that I'm good at that, and they trust me to do what I need to do. That's not to say that, we don't dip into each other's circle every once in a while. And, sometimes you have to kind of be like, this is why I do this way. And there's a mutual understanding there.
Stay in your lane.
But, with I think with business partners, I mean, there's always going to be, regardless of how good of friends you are, and the three of us, I can literally say, are best friends. We're like brothers. But, you do have situations where
There's always going to be some tension, no matter what. I mean, I've been through that with the two partners I have. I mean, it just happens. It is what it is. It's one of those things where you have to just have to remember why you got into it at the end of the day, no matter what.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I do. I mean, like, with either one of them, like when you have a disagreement, it's like you say, like, why am I dealing with this motherfucker right now? But then you're like, all right, because he's a fucking genius when it comes to making beer.
Exactly.
Because this dude works his ass off, and he's just so motivated. That's why. Not.
And when you started a year ago, at your 1 year anniversary, were you where you thought you'd be? Were you ahead of where you thought you'd be, or are you behind where you thought you'd be?
Honestly, I will be 100% dead honest with you. I had no idea. where we needed to be, where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I knew that we were going to be successful, and I knew that. Like, and I don't mean that like in a cocky way, but I knew that we were going to be successful. I didn't know to what level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I kind of have a better idea of like, okay, we're successful, but this is what I need to do.
Well, you look at everyone. Okay, so if you're in the industry, like hold on, before we get into that, let's
Yeah.
say something.
But I say that's a good thing, because had you decided you wanted to be at a certain level and you hadn't reached that level yet, you might have been frustrated.
Right.
But it's almost kind of a great thing that you're like, you know what? We'll see what happens in this first year. Let's, I don't, because I've never done this before. So how can I predict where I'm going to be in a year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Salute.
but I mean, what happens is you cheers to 1 year, sir. Is it
Smell
rough?
that. God dang.
Come on now. Not that bad. It's got a little vanilla to it.
Vanilla and cough medicine.
It's much better than that last 800
Yeah,
we
for
had.
sure.
I was scared shitless because I picked it up and I was like, after I bought it, I was like, did I bring 1800 on that podcast? It was a Neho, and I was very disappointed, but I think this is better than that last one.
It's very caramelly.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of caramel flavor.
Well, I smelled
in that.
sweet before I tasted it, but yes, sir. Josh can get you some. Leaving you out, man. So, I forgot what I was.
But we're talking about a year after
what
when
I
you
was getting
started.
at is, when you don't know how to compare, you start comparing yourself to someone else in your industry.
Right.
And you're like, well, I need to be like this. Like when we got into marketing, I was like, well, we need to do this, this, and this to be like this. But I'm looking at someone with an entirely different culture. First, I don't know their culture.
Right.
And I'm looking at someone that's entirely different building, like a business model and everything. And I'm saying, well, that's a goal to shoot for.
Right.
But I don't know the internal works of them. I don't know who those people are, like what their character is, what their positions are, what their responsibilities are. I don't know any of that. I'm just looking from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And then once you're in operation, you're like, okay, what works, what doesn't. Maybe I don't need to be, maybe I don't need to be making shouldn't be making X amount of money, or I'm not a multi-million-dollar company, but I am doing these things and we're profitable. All that stuff starts coming into fruition.
Right. And you can set more like realistic goals on what you should do, and not getting ahead of yourself on. I think that's one of the things right now that like we battle back and forth with sometimes, or personally I battle like, should we be expanding? Should we be growing?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is not necessarily like our location or what we're doing, but the volume that we're putting out.
Yeah.
Because there is other untapped markets that we hadn't hit. But I think what scares me, and I don't mean it scared like detours me, I mean it more like when we do get to that point, I need it to be like a very planned out thing to where we're not like, overworking ourselves, or, because not all growth is good growth.
Right.
You could, work yourself into a fucking hole.
Yeah, not only that, like
by trying to,
if you start overproducing something you're not passionate about, just because someone, there's so many things in your line of business, so many ways you could overgrow.
Well, like have you read the book 7 Habits of Success? The number one, the first one is begin with the end in mind, meaning this is where I want to be. Let me back out from there. If I know I've got to do this in a certain amount of time, if I break it up into small bite-sized things, this is where I can be. And that's a great thing if you know what your goal is. If you don't know what your goal is, you're going to hit it, obviously. But like in your case, was there anything that you learned in this first year that you wished you had known before you started, and it would have either made it easier or you would have made better decisions or anything like that? Was there anything you go, damn, I wish I'd have known about that? I wish I'd have thought about that or known that before.
Yeah, I mean, just like with our business model, I think like going back, I probably would have pushed for certain distribution, like right off the bat, certain things like that. Having a little bit of a bigger footprint right off the bat, and just honestly, just like as a more not even as an owner, but as a boss, like being able to manage situations better with employees.
Yeah, but there's no way.
Right. And I get what you're saying. Like that will never end.
You're never gonna. Well, not only that, you're never gonna know what you're getting into because every single employee is different, and how you manage them has to be adjusted. So like. That's what always pisses me off in the corporate world is like they say it really. I'm very impressed. I was scared shitless after I realized that we're going to have 1800 again because I was like, ugh, damn, we got a heavy pour on that one. All right, so So that's what I realized is that like in the corporate world, working in there for so long, and you're still in there. So like they create a fucking handbook and say everyone has to fall into this line in this place and do these things.
Yeah.
Like, and they're handling everyone like they're the same.
Right.
But being a business owner and being able to do everything, you know, and customize your layout, you're able to manage each person to their strength and not put them in a fucking box that restricts them of things.
Right.
Like maybe some person works best in these hours.
Yeah.
Well, let me just employ them for those hours
Yeah.
and then leave them the fuck alone if they can't make it at 8 in the morning. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they can make it from 10 to 2 p.m. and they kick ass, let's do it.
Yeah,
and we'll find, you know, so like doing that is like there's no way to learn that other than trial and error.
Exactly.
But like, I think if more people get that mindset and be like, okay, you have an amazing employee, he's fucking always late, let's make him come in at 9 instead of 8.
Yeah.
He shows up at 9, he works his ass off till 2 or 3. He wants to get done early. If he works his ass, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's just,
You know, that's a very good thing. Do you guys taste coconut?
Yes.
Like a little bit of a coconut?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's not what that was?
Yeah, it's got like a coconutty flavor. So I guess they filter it through coconuts.
I'm impressed that.
But
for
one
1800s.
thing I was thinking about this the other night. I used to love to walk. I don't get to walk as much anymore. But I always like to think when I walk, and I was thinking about this podcast, and I thought thinking about when we're talking about owning businesses and running businesses and doing things, like what I thought if I could distill it down to just a couple key things. Probably one of the most important things that I learned and I thought was good was that it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, you know what? No, I was wrong. Or that's not the way we should be doing this. That's not how. And again, like you said, the guy comes in late, make him come in an hour later. Yeah. Well, our employee manual says.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know,
I don't care.
you have to be able to say, I believed something at one point in time, and now I don't.
Right.
And it seems to me a lot of people have a problem with that in this day and age, especially with social media. Well, you're not allowed to change your mind.
Right. The biggest thing is, most of the time when you have a situation where there's rules put in place, there's a lot of people that vote on that decision. You know, like, so it's very different when you go to the hierarchy of, you know, small business to mid-level business to corporate. Everything changes in the way they make decisions because there's PR involved and there's HR involved and there's all these things and they're trying to cover their ass. And it's exactly like social media. Everyone's making a choice based on the biased opinion.
Right.
What's going to get me the best views? What's going to get me the best engagement? I better not say this because it goes against what someone else believes. You know what I mean?
But
so like,
I think like you bring up a good point because, like you said, social media, people state their beliefs and they speak on certain subjects, kind of like in the workplace where people implement rules for shit that doesn't apply to them.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's like like you're doing this stuff for like as an employer, like if you can go in there, you can set all these fucking rules. Like I need you here till midnight every fucking night or whatever, and it's like it's cool, right? Because I don't have to be there, so you know, fuck them, you know. But I think. Seeing it from that perspective, I think it allows you to be better as far as like, you know, how you dictate certain things and how it can affect people.
There's a fine line between, so being a boss and being an employee, there's a fine line between like, yes, of course, especially coming up in like, like manual labor jobs and stuff, you're like, man, I wish I was the boss, man, I wish I was the boss. Most of the time, you don't know what it takes to get to the boss, to be the boss. Right. And so you're always going to say that until you get to the boss. And then the boss is like, man, you know, it's just two different.
Right. And how many times the boss say, God, I wish I was back.
Right. Exactly. So like, there's no perspective. Like, if each person could be in, like, or if that person that says, I wish I was, man, it must be nice if they could be in that mental capacity of whatever.
So do you think
understand the hardships to get?
Do you think that things have changed between what used to be? And I will say things have changed between what was the normal hierarchy of business to what businesses are now today. Do you believe that that's a result of social media and not wanting to piss off the
I don't think anything's changed. Here's what I believe. So I don't think anything's changed. There's always been a structure that says we're going to do this like this because of this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now you have all these different movements. I'm going to go ahead and just put it out there. So we're looking at media and stuff like that. Now everyone's pushing the TQ and
MNOP,
the Pride
QRS,
stuff and all that, because it's Pride Month right now. Nothing. I love everyone. You know what I'm saying is they get on a narrative because they know that that's what's popular. So I don't think anything's changed. I just think that they're making adjustments to what doesn't get them any pushback. Okay?
Clicks and views.
Yes. So like what they're going to fall in whatever train's not going to give them any negative feedback. You know, like especially the multi-billion-dollar corporations. In their ads and marketing, they're going to start pushing those things. That way, no one's going to. That way, they can say, "Okay, no one's going to come after us because we didn't support this cause." So I don't think anything's changed. I just think like that stuff is adjusted over time because of what world we're in. Because now, someone could go online and attack someone, and if they're a certain type of belief, you know, or how they do things, if someone disagrees with that, then they try to cancel them. But if you get on that train where you're basically proofreading ahead of time, so you're not canceled. And I think that's what we're dealing with now. So like do you think they give a shit about Pride Month? And like I said, I support everyone. I don't give a shit what you want to put in any hole in your body. I don't give a fuck. Whatever makes you happy, look, I love you for it. Like, I'm serious. I don't care, man. Like, you know, I don't care, bro. Like, I love everyone. But what I'm saying is like,
I got to use that.
Yeah, dude. Like, if you're just getting behind
okay, I understand
cause,
what you're saying. However, what I'm asking is the pressure to be that stronger now? Because back in the day, like, you know, if they had an LGBTQ or even like a Hispanic month.
Yes.
Okay, it's the shortest damn month of the year. Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
They didn't even give us a whole month.
Yeah, exactly.
We got half and half.
28 fucking days, right? Unless it's leap year, then they go, oh, well, actually, that's not your day. But you have these little things. However, the need to be a part of it and to push it. Back in the day, there was never a commercial about Mexican pie.
They stayed away from everything.
Yeah,
but that's because there was no access to information.
So it has changed in the sense that
yes.
they are having to change how they operate due to the fact that our audience knows what we're going to do before we even do it.
Exactly. So they've changed, but what I'm saying is the layout is still. They're going to do whatever's the path of least resistance for them, and that's just a good PR. That's good PR. I mean, that's I'm in marketing. Like that's good PR for companies that have billions of dollars and multiple shareholders, and they're worried about this, and we can't make this move because we're gonna upset these group of people or whatever. So they're going to make all these decisions ahead of time. And
I agree. And this is where Disney...
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No, this is where Disney comes into play.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
Okay, let's talk about Disney for a minute, okay? Because I love that company. I have loved that company for the longest time. I've loved how they've been a company. I'm very good friends with Lee Cockrell, who was the former executive vice president of Walt Disney World.
Nice.
He wrote several books, incredible books. Now, I will say this. Him and I do not agree on politics.
Right.
But we can still be friends, and I respect him for his leadership and the books he wrote, and I learned a lot how to be a good leader by reading his books. But you have a company like Disney, okay? And when all this stuff went down with what's happening in Florida, and I don't know if you know it or not, but Disney is going to lose their Reedy Creek development. I don't know if it was a regulation or something, but what it really was it allowed Disney to pretty much be the Vatican within Florida. Because the Vatican is not Rome. The Vatican is its own city within Rome and its own government.
They make their own laws.
They make their own laws. They have. Well, the Reedy Creek Development Program, when Walt Disney came into Florida, he said, okay, I want to build all this stuff, but I don't want interference from all the local government.
Right. That's a good thing.
So what did they do? The governor of Florida said, okay, well, we're going to have this program called the Reedy Creek Development, so you will take care of all your utilities, your sewer, your this, and that, blah, blah, blah. And then when something happened with a legislation in Florida, Disney said, we are going to reverse that with our power, more or less. They said, we're going to use our power to reverse a ruling that we had no vote in.
Right,
okay.
Exactly.
So what did DeSantis do, the governor of Florida? He said, well, guess what? We're going to revoke your ability to do this. And what did he do? They did it. They revoked it.
I don't disagree with that.
But here's where it comes into a play about everybody's like, sell your Disney stock, do this. No, I'm keeping my Disney stock. You know why? Because I love that company.
Yeah.
And if I sell my stock, that means somebody else gets to vote for it.
Right.
I have voted against every board member except Iger. Every board member, this last meeting that I got, my proxy vote sheet had 12 things on it. One of them was talking about how lots of groups want them to be able to disclose their who they give PAC money to.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of stuff going on, like, okay, and Disney and Disney, the Disney board is saying you should vote no for this. Only time you tell me to vote no,
I'm probably gonna vote yes.
I'm gonna vote yes.
Yeah.
But see, here's where it comes into play with like a company like that is so big that their hubris and they don't feel they can fail.
Right.
But you can fail. So I hold my stock. I keep it because I want to be. I don't go online and I don't go, you know what, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm making a difference because I have ownership in that company.
Right.
So I'm going to exercise my ownership. So everybody who wants to talk BS about something, if you have a problem with the company, buy stock in that company.
Then make it change.
Make a change.
Yeah, so like there's a million ways to go after this thing, but at the end of the day, most people have an opinion on something that they do not research, that they're not well versed in, that they have no idea what that culture or community is about.
Right.
They're just getting on for attention or for drama. Like,
you know who's the worst? Who's the worst? Old people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this. I was working at, and I don't mean to keep rubbing here, but I was walking out of the ER at Chris's Shumpert. I was doing some work over there. I walked out, and there was these two old people, probably older than my parents, on their phones. And I'm going, oh, man, they are talking something about on Facebook.
Yeah.
They are thinking that everybody wants to know what they think.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing you can think of is that everybody gives a damn what you think.
It's the people that are younger, disconnected, and the people that are old and are disconnected. If you
Exactly.
think about it, like the people in a room are too busy living their life.
Yep.
But I mean, at the end of the day, man, look, it's just like when it comes to politics, I leave it out of this show because I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, the powers that be that run any entity are going to do what they want to do.
Right.
And if we think that we have any influence on these decisions that are made, we're all like dumbfounded, basically.
Yeah.
Unless we back them financially.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You think your opinion matters. You think your vote matters. I don't think it does. So I'm going to stay completely out of it. You can have your opinion. I'll have mine. But at the end of the day, whoever the powers that be are going to make the decision.
Right.
You know?
And I'm going to make a shirt called, it's going to say, you stick it in any hole you want to.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm just keeping it real.
DJ Thomas.
Look, I don't care what anyone does. Let's get in this.
All right, so this is the Fortaleza.
Reposado?
This is the Reposado. And we really like the.
Whoa,
man!
Bro,
that sounded heavy.
This is nothing, man. Shoot, man. It's a bigger container, but again, I've never heard anything bad about it on all the groups I'm on, and apparently this is getting harder and harder to find. The Fortaleza.
Okay.
It is. I think it's got big hype behind it.
I saw it yesterday at our choice of spot in our hood over there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I was like, I wonder, and I was like, oh yeah, you sent a photo. We're having that. So
I'd love like next time my dad goes to Mexico, I want him to bring me a Fortaleza bottle, but like for Mexico, I just like probably the same damn bottle, but in my mind,
just maybe remember something. So, have you ever met Abaku, who runs the restaurant in Mendon?
No.
Well, I was there last weekend, and we were doing a barbecue competition. Oh yeah,
Wow.
And I was talking to him, and he's a very well-versed tequila advocate.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a conversation, and he was basically talking about, I need to get this from Mexico, because he has a restaurant in Mexico as well.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes back frequently, and he's like, I bring a lot of stuff back, and I'll bring you some. And I was like, you should come on our tequila talk.
Yes.
So he said, well, give me a month or two, and I'll go back, and I'll bring some good shit. So just so we know, probably next episode we'll have Abaku join us, because he's going to bring some stuff up. You know?
This is, after everything we've had that, we've had the other one, it still bites harder, but nice. It's kind of like a big dog just kind of nipping at your leg going, I'm here, but I'm not going to hurt you.
Jab,
This is the first time in the history of this show that we've had 3 tequilas back to back, and they've not been bad. Because most of the time there's one in between there.
We just need to bring like a shit bottle of like something.
Yeah. Speaking of, what happened to that Members Mark bottle you're going to bring?
The Reposado?
Yeah.
I drink it all. I drink it all when I was in Florida.
Well, you know what?
But I did have some. Let's see here. There you go, Josh. I did have some silver, but I didn't want to bring that because I wanted to bring the Reposado because it was actually good. And so I'll get some for the next one for sure.
Well, I'm going to talk about something very what's happening in my life right now. I have a dog that's dying.
Ooh. Sorry about that.
And we have been going through it, and we had to put one of our other dogs down after 13 years. Best dog in the world. He was a boxer. Because it was finally like he looked at me and said, "I'm done. I'm ready to go." So we have another dog now, Gryffindor, who's our chocolate lab. He was my daughter's chocolate lab, and when she had him, she was still working at. She's a jet engine mechanic, so she was working at Jet Express. And in the morning, she would drop him off so my son could watch him. So Sage could keep him, and he was just a little tiny little pug, and the most beautiful dog in the world, and very loving. And he ended up having a tumor in his nasal cavity. He was 5 years old. He had a tumor in his nasal cavity. And they said, well, we can do the chemotherapy. We can do all this stuff. We talked with doctors and everything. And they said, we can do it. And it'll probably give him 6 to 8 months. But he would probably have sores in his mouth. He might have these bleeding and stuff. And we're like, well, his number one thing in the world is to play ball. He loves ball. You throw the ball, he goes. So we didn't do it. It was August of last year that the doctors told us this. Okay, he's almost made a year. But
how old is he now?
He is 6. He's about 6 and 2 months right now, and it's taken everything for my wife to drive me today because she does not leave him alone.
Yeah.
And when he was a puppy, up until my daughter had to move to, she ended up having to go to Oakland, and then COVID hit and all this stuff happened. So we've kept him. He's our dog. No, he's not our dog now. Well, my wife used to say, well, that's Sage's dog. And she's like, no, he's my dog now. He's mine. Because after my wife had her surgery, she had her hip surgery, she had a hip revision about a year. How long ago was it?
How long ago was what?
Your hip revision. Your hip revision. April 21. Yeah, in case y'all weren't here last time, my wife chimed in on so many things, and it was wonderful. But anyway, so she hasn't gone back to work. After she had the hip revision, she's worked from home because we have a VPN, which, by the way, if you want to work from home,
it's amazing.
It's wonderful.
It's amazing.
So we had a VPN installed, and she works from home, and now she stays with him every day, all day. And we just know my son. I told my son he was going to come home in July, and I told him this last week. I'm like, you need to come home. You need to see him. Because it's getting close. And I love what the cancer vet said to us. He said, and any of you listen to this who have had dogs and you've had to put them down or think about it. He said, you have the opportunity to give your dog one last gift, and that's the gift of no pain, of peace. And I never looked at it that way. I never looked at it as giving them something. I always looked at it as I'm doing something. Yeah, I'm taking something away. And so it's been really hard we weren't even close to this the last time when we had talked, but I was talking to one of our BNI members, and she lost. She had to put her dog down, and her husband had called her and said, it's time. A lot of us know when it's time. And they had gone to Vegas, and when she got back, that's when she realized, that all those habits that you have and the dog, because he sleeps with me in the bed, and all those things, all of a sudden it hits you. And none of my family listens to this, so it's okay. I'm going to say this. When my boxer died, I cried harder for my boxer dying than I did when my mom died.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I loved either one any different. It was because it was me having to tell him, okay, it's time. You can go. And when we
than it just happening.
We took him, and when I knew we'd made the right move was when they gave him the shot, and all of a sudden he started snoring. And he hadn't snored in 6 weeks. And he was a big snorer. Yeah. It's like, Choco, calm down. But so it was time for him to go. I mean, he had a tumor. He had a tumor in his bladder. But I wanted to say all this to say that a lot of people say a dog. How can you love animals more than you love humans? It's not about loving animals more than you love humans. It's understanding that a dog's sole purpose in this world, when they're with us, is to love us.
Yeah,
that's all they care about. That's all they do, and we know it's just a matter of time. So my mood, kind of when I came in here, was a little bit like we wanted to bring him with us.
You could have, man.
I would, but he couldn't have made it up those stairs.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I have to lift him up and put him on the bed.
Yeah.
You know, and he still looks at us and he loves us, and I think to myself, are we being selfish because we want to keep him? Or because he still eats and drinks, and everybody says, "Oh, well, as long as they're eating and drinking,
there's
they're
a
fine."
lot of things like that's what happened recently with my grandfather. Like you get to the point to where it's like, okay, how long can you let them diminish before you're like, okay, we have to stop this pain?
I will tell you this as a healthcare worker, and I'm talking for everything in general. One thing that I have learned from the things that I have seen, and that's just like we're talking life or death here. There's worse things than dying. I mean, there's worse things than dying.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. There's worse things than dying. Like there's a point, whether it's in a human life or any type of life, that like I've seen, dealt with patients, dealt with people, and then it's like, why? Like and I've had these conversations with my wife. Like, if we ever get to this point, do not put me through that.
It's called a living will.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, it's like...
we have one.
It's like, what kind of life is that for me and then the person? But, like, back to your dog, like, so if we would have had this conversation probably 6 years ago, I would have said, dude, you're fucking crazy. Like, because, you know, I grew up in a Hispanic family.
No.
Dogs inside the house was like a no.
Yeah.
Dogs out, like the fact that
Yeah.
you could like have a relationship with an animal is like the most bizarre thing. And for Zoe's birthday, probably, I don't know, you know, how old is Franklin now? Franklin is 5. One of her birthdays, we decided we were going to get her a little Frenchie. And decided means my wife was very adamant, and I was like, absolutely not. And finally, I ended up, you know, paying some ridiculous amount of money for this, in my mind, this stupid dog. And I set these ground rules like, she takes care of the dog. She does this. This dog does not come in our room. This dog does not get in the couch. This dog does not sleep in our bed. Comes nowhere near us.
Carry it like
all,
a baby now.
Yeah, all this other stuff. I will tell you right now, Jose will not go to bed unless Franklin is in that bed. You know? Like if Franklin ain't there, like last night. I mean, last night, for example, like I walked in the room and like Leanne was laying up, and I was like, "Where's Franklin?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I was too lazy to grab him," and I'm like, so I walked my butt back to the living room.
Come on, baby, let's go.
And, like, you know, let's go. But it's wild how that works.
I can't relate there, but I did raise and breed wolf dogs for a long time, probably like 6 or 7 years, and I had a really good relationship with my dogs, and they were like my kids. But I knew that they still had some wild entities in them, so I let them stay outside a lot, and they came in a lot. But I'm still one of those people. I don't want an animal in my bed.
Right.
But I do respect. Look, anyone that loves anything, I respect it. I don't care what it is. I don't. You know what I mean?
It's weird, dude, because like I get it. Like I do. I was raised that way, and I get it. But it's like, I think like this friendship developed. Like Franklin's not like he's just my boy.
I mean, it happens.
You know?
Like, when you spend
like,
time with any living anything, and it gives you any type of emotional response or support, you're gonna grow attachment to
I'll give you one better. My wife is allergic to dogs and cats. We have had at least 12 cats. We have right now 2 dogs. We have fostered so many other dogs, but I have learned more about my wife watching her with animals and dogs than I ever knew watching her with human beings. And she has very high allergies. I tell my children this. I said, did you ever think you'd see a day when your mom would have a dog sleeping at the foot of her bed, would have dogs in the house, and I have retiled, I have hardwood floored, I have taken so that we can have dogs in our house for my wife's allergies.
And you said she didn't want to leave, didn't she? Just walk in here and thank you for putting a camera in the room.
She thanked me for putting a second camera in to see our dog.
That's awesome, man.
But I don't know what happened. I don't know when it happened, but there came a point in time when my wife is the most generous person I've ever met in my life. There came a time when she became an advocate for animals. I don't remember exactly when that happened or why it happened, but she would call me or she'd send me a text message and go, "This puppy is at Caddo, and if nobody takes it, because they found a rescue, but if nobody takes it, they're going to euthanize it." And I'm like, "Why are you even or even, I'm going to say,
How you doing this
just,
stuff, yeah.
just take it. Yes, of course, obviously. And we've had dogs through the years. And then one year we had a dog called Matilda. Okay. Matilda was a Jack Russell Beagle mix. I call her Tilly. I call her Miss Tilly because she's like an old black lady in a house coat going, you all need to shut up and get off my porch. Let Miss Tilly rest. Okay. Yeah. She is like that. And she came down from Alexandria or something. I think when they had all those floods and everything in Alexandria, she was abandoned.
Okay.
Because every time there's a storm, she knows when a storm's coming. Every time she freaks out, she'll start scratching on the thing. She's got issues. Okay. So Matilda was only supposed to be with us for like a couple weeks. Well, the place she was supposed to go to in Mississippi got kennel cough. So we had her for, how long do we have Tilly? 5 weeks. We had Tilly for 5 weeks, and then it was time to take her. And the night before we had to take her, Cheryl was on the couch hugging on her, saying, you're going to be a good girl. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And I took a picture of it because I want to remember that. And I'm like, inside I'm dying, but I'm like, our job was to be a foster.
Yeah.
Our job was not to keep the dog. So they went and they picked her up, and they picked her up at a Waffle House, and this comes into play, Waffle House. So they picked up her Waffle House, and they took her to Mississippi, and then Cheryl would, she was a little bit torn, but then she was watching the Facebook feeds of this group because they take dogs that have cancer, dogs that have 3 legs, things like that. So, but they dress them up in this thing, and they try to raise money for them. Well, she was heartworm positive. So they needed money for heartworm treatment. So Cheryl showed me a couple pictures, and then one day she goes, look at her, and she showed it to me. I said, call them and tell them we're going to take her.
Yeah.
We'll pay whatever we need to pay. We'll go. And I drove to Mississippi and got that dog because that was my wife's dog.
Yeah.
Because they have a bond, and they're both stubborn as hell. They're both want pets.
Yeah.
They want to be part of it, and they're independent. But you could also tell when she lays down, she looks like a pig. She's like just waiting for piglets to suckle on her. But she's had several puppies, so I don't know if she was a male dog. I don't know. Maybe she had puppies and they took them away from her. I don't know. But I said, that's your dog. Let's keep it. So we've had Tilly, and Matilda is our dog. And so within the next month, we're going to lose Griffin. And I've thought about, like, your brother has labs.
Yeah, he does. There's some nice ones.
And I think, you know what? Do we replace them? Do we do? What do we do? And I don't know.
I don't know either. I've always been conflicted with that.
That's weird about that. A lot of people have that. Like Brian Meeker, a good friend of yours and mine, Ben. I don't know. I don't know if you met him or not, Jose. He's a great guy, though. They've just recently lost a pit bull that they've had forever, and they had to put it down. And I was like, well, I have a blue pit that you could have, because he's a great dog, but we don't have the time to give him, and he's a loving dog. We just don't have the time to give him the attention he deserves. But he's like, man, I don't know. I like to, get one from a small one and raise them how I want to. But what you said that stood out to me is that you said you got to see a different part of your wife, how she interacted once she formulated that bond. Mm-hmm. It's so crazy because I've started to see that in my life with my wife and the kids because I've never seen that before. Yeah. So it's like they're not mine biologically, but still they're mine. And like looking at, we're bringing the good stuff out now.
Let me finish this one.
Looking at watching someone that loves someone else and seeing that, there's no replacement for that, right? Like it doesn't matter if it's a dog, a piece of furniture, a child, whatever it is. Like seeing someone's passionate bond for someone else is like, it's undescribable, and you cannot put it into words when you experience it firsthand.
Right. And with a child, dude, it's like
yeah.
And we talked about this. One thing that I said was we all have one thing in common, and that's we all have children who are not of our blood.
Yeah.
Right.
And that don't mean shit.
Nope. No, for sure.
Because we would die for them. We would kill for them if we had to.
Yeah.
And I think we even discussed, you were talking about, and I want to repeat a story that for anybody who has a child or and if a child trusts you and talks to you, even if they're not your own biologically, I have a story about my mom, and can I repeat it? The story.
Yeah, because all right, just to put in perspective, if you're tuning in right now, or if you didn't catch the front of this, we tried to record this episode a few weeks back. and I had some technical difficulties, so we're throwing in some stuff that we're basically rehashing from the last episode that didn't get aired here. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. So I talked about I love my mom. My mom has passed. I love my mom to death, and I always talk to my mom. And then one time when I was living in Italy, I was on a military base, and I had heard I was at the dentist, and the guys had talked about this new colonel or somebody that came in, and she was not a very attractive woman, and they made mention of it, and I laughed.
You didn't mention that part. I got you.
And I laughed. I thought that was funny. Yeah. She does look like she got hit by a. You
can open this thing up, Jose. By the way.
A board, and I thought it was funny. So in passing, I told my mom about it. Okay, my mom just like, Well, then a couple weeks later, I ran into my friend, and I'm like, "How you doing?" He was mad. He's like, and this is in Italy. He's like, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Why did you tell your mom what we said?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I got reprimanded. He was called to his commanding officer because my mom decided to tell her friend, who was a commanding officer, what one of the people had said in front of me." And I was like, I had no idea she did that. So I went home, and I almost got smacked across the face from my dad. But I told my mom, "Why did you say that? Why did you say what I told you?" She said, "Because it was wrong, and he shouldn't have said that." I said, it doesn't matter. I told you that. And she goes, "Well, he shouldn't have said that." From that day forward, I never told anything to my mom that I didn't want the world to know.
Yeah.
So if you are a parent or a step-parent or a third parent or fourth parent, when a child or anybody confides in you, unless it's somebody's about to die, keep it to yourself. Don't share it. Because there's comfort in knowing that you can say something to somebody and they won't go off and say something. And so I hate that happened with my relationship with my mom. But it had to happen.
Right.
So I know that and we had talked about it, and I know there's conversations my wife has had with my daughter that I do not want to know about.
Yeah.
And there was a movie I saw one time, and the girl was crying, and she was talking to her mom. Cheers. And she was talking to her mom. Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
That's like bitter, but then it's like
different.
Floral.
So we're drinking the
Casa Dragones.
Yes. So just so everyone knows who's not watching.
Wow.
It's different. There's like nothing at the front at all.
Yeah.
It's almost like a swimming pool. If I could liken it to a swimming pool where you jump in, you feel wet, and then you feel cool.
Yeah, let me get Josh some of this. There's nothing at the front of it. Like, that's so fucking weird.
Wow.
It's good, though.
You like fruits?
You feel like apple? Yeah. Apples? Yeah.
Hold on.
Wow. Where was I? Okay, so,
man,
it's weird. It's
and by the way, shout out to Thrifty Liquor because
chill, dude.
chill, bro. Chill, man. Don't be like my mom. Don't say shit.
I'm just saying they did a good job. Very
good.
That's all I was going to say.
Thrifty Liquor, you don't pick some good stuff.
Yeah, man.
But anyways, I saw a movie one time where a girl was crying and her mom was consoling her, and the dad's like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Just go away." She's like, "No, what's wrong?" She goes, "If you stay, I'm going to tell you."
Yeah.
There's things we don't need to know.
Right.
Of course.
There's things that and there's relationships between a mother and a child. And my son was talking about a book he had read, and he had said that, somebody had talked about the death of their father, and their mom had died before. And if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to mention the book. But he read it out of curiosity. But he said, "My father died and I didn't shed a tear. My mother died and I couldn't stop crying." Something like that. And he said, "Well, why?" He goes, "Because I respected my father, but I loved my mother."
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Yeah,
it's a totally different type of thing.
Yeah.
And so you had talked about you have a young daughter, and you have a daughter coming up, and I had said something that I had learned in a I don't know, it was maybe a Baptist thing, but it was there's two things I learned. Number one, as far as marriage is, you don't get married once. you have several different marriages. And I didn't understand what that meant. And what the guy said was, when you get married and you're a newlywed, that's a marriage. When you have a child, guess what? Everything changes.
Yeah.
That's another marriage. When you change jobs, that's another
Yep.
marriage. Every change in your life creates a different marriage.
Yeah.
And if you don't take the time to adjust and reevaluate and move on, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, you can't be the same person you were walking in. Just like you evolve.
Right.
I've evolved
Right.
over the past year of being married.
Yeah.
The past year of being a father, full-time father. They don't have another dad. It's me. He's dead.
Right.
So like,
Yeah.
I've evolved. I walked in, saying, dude, this, and this, and
Yes.
because just because
Yeah,
I'm militant as fuck about shit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this. There's each person is different. You have to deal with each person differently, kind of like employees.
You can't say to the boy what
No.
you say to the girl.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
the girl. Hell, oh my god. Like,
And it ain't going to get no
you
better.
don't know what person you're going to get every morning either.
It don't
I'm
get
like,
better,
I walk in,
trust
I'm
me.
like, wake up, and I'm like, oh shit.
But one thing he talked about was date your daughter.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that when my daughter began middle school and high school, I realized I want to be the man in her life. I don't want some thug, something to come along and make her feel special. I want her to feel special every day of her life. And when she looks at a guy, goes, okay, but my mom has this
Yeah.
and this and this and this and this kind of love. I have a car. I have my own car. I don't need a car. I have all this. What are you bringing to the table? Because if
Yeah.
you can't bring more than what I'm already getting,
That's a very good point, because you see a lot of and he goes to man, we're dealing with I was raised with a single mother.
God bless you.
I mean, but my dad was still involved, but I only got to see him every other weekend. That's just it's how it
Yeah.
was when you're growing up. The flavor in this is amazing, by the way. But it's weird, because when you look at people and you say, I want to raise someone to be this type of person, and you never want them to be like you were.
Right,
It's
right.
I always want them to be better and better situation. It doesn't matter if you have the perfect situation. You still want to create a better life for them than what you
Right.
had, because you're going to find something that was I didn't like this about my childhood. I want to make it better for them. But what you have to be careful about is that, just from what I've seen, and man, I don't have the experience you guys have at this point, but I just realized that you have to be careful about, you can't overgive. You have to find a line. You can't overgive and you can't undergive. So you have to find what that individual's tolerances are,
And
strengths,
they know.
weaknesses.
Every
and-
kid is different.
And
they will
every
manipulate-
child
and they will
knows.
manipulate the fuck out of it too.
Every child
My wife gets
knows.
manipulated by the kids every day. I laugh at her. I'm like, they are playing your ass. She's like, oh no. I was like, well, at least I'm here to run shit.
Yeah.
She's like,
But I think one of the biggest difficulties I had, even as we were raising Zoe, is that the stuff that affected her. I thought, in my mind, I was like, that shouldn't affect you. Why is that affecting you?
yeah.
And I think you got to come to terms with the fact that
They did in a whole different world.
that is legit pressure. That is legit stress she's feeling. She's not making this up.
Right.
To you, it's nonsense.
Well, here's the thing.
But she is feeling that.
Right.
What you would feel for a
And
real
as long as
stressful
you acknowledge
situation.
it, as long as you acknowledge it,
Yeah.
she will continue to tell you.
Right.
So never underestimate
Right.
or never downgrade her.
And I
feelings.
struggled with that
Yeah.
for so
Well,
long, because I'm
because
like, why?
We're the type of people that here's the thing, that ain't shit. I done been
Yeah.
through all this. But at the end of the day, the worst thing they've ever felt is the worst thing they've ever felt.
Right.
Thank you.
Our worst situation may be, we got stuck outside of a bar and got beat the shit out of by 3 different
Yeah,
dudes.
exactly.
Their worst situation
Yeah.
might be they woke up and their hair was horrible that day.
Right.
To up into that point of their life, that's the worst situation they've ever felt. So they're gonna
Right.
associate that moment to that until
Right.
they have a worse situation.
Yeah.
And when you come to terms with that, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But when you get people that are just, here's where it gets tricky, where you talk to people and people come to you, and we go back to the must be nice scenario. It's like, if these people have felt absolutely no hardship in their life and they're casting some type of judgment on someone, that's where we go back and say, okay, hold on a minute. You haven't been through anything.
Yeah.
You're casting judgment.
Right.
You have, your feelings are hurt and you have some emotions here. Okay, I can relate. This is the hardest thing you've dealt with. But if you're casting judgment on someone because you haven't been through that situation yet, then we're, there's different ways to deal with things.
And one thing I thought of, and the 10 people listening to this, I also, and I said something last time, and I'm going to say it again. If you are attracted to somebody or are have a attraction or chemistry with somebody who has children and you don't, do not let that be the thing that prevents you from doing it. Because my life has been so enriched by my daughters that were not mine from birth. I have a daughter who is so strong-willed and so independent that when I met Cheryl, when I met Chelsea, I said her name. When I met Chelsea, the oldest one, I knew she was independent. She had her own mind. She had her own mind made up about stuff. And I realized at some point in time, after we got married, I realized at some point in time, I have no effect on this person. Anything I say, anything I do slides off of her. I have no control. So I accepted it.
Yeah.
I didn't try to be like, you're going to listen to me and do what I say.
Right,
no.
Right.
She had other things. I'm not going to talk about it. She had other things that gave her what she wanted, and she got it. And so I said, you know what? I can't do anything about that. So I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm going to focus on Lindsay and Sage. I'm going to focus on my other two children because now I love her to death. We still hang out. I still admire her unbelievably. I am so proud of her. She is a jet engine mechanic. She is in a world of men. She works in a world dominated by men.
Yeah.
And she kicks their
How did
ass.
she fall into that? I
You know
wanted
what?
to ask you that. How
I
did that
don't
happen?
know. I do know that she decided that she was working in. She used to work in the food industry, and this girl is brilliant. Her biological father, was like Menzies.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so why Cheryl picked me, I don't know. But anyways, she is incredibly smart, and she decided she wanted to work with aircraft, and so she was living in Dallas, but she was working with a couple restaurants, and she traveled all over the country and opened up restaurants for, I think, Saltgrass. Well, then she decided she wanted to be a jet engine mechanic, so she got her airframe and power plant. Now, I'm a pilot, so I have a private pilot's license. Well, not anymore; it's expired. But she did airframe and power plant. But here's the deal:
We can fly dirty one day.
When I get into an aircraft, okay, and I do my checks, and I hit that button, and I turn it on, and I turn my solenoids on, and I turn it. I know a mechanic has checked this.
Yeah.
Okay. She does it for people who fly for paying passengers.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what plane did you work on? No. but anyway, but she got her airframe and power plant, and she worked, and she's brilliant. So she does that, and if she gets in trouble, I know she can get herself out of it. Lindsay is my little princess. Lindsay was 2 when I met Cheryl. I decided, you know what? I'm going to be the man in her life. Mm-hmm. So I did everything I could, but I didn't cut her slack. If she lied to me, and here's the funny thing too, and you're both going to understand this when you get older. Your children are going to say shit to you that you said to your parents.
Yeah.
No.
And you're going to go.
It's already happening when you're 6 years old.
And you're going to go, wait, did I sound this stupid when I said it?
Well, this is what's crazy because Zoe is not my biological daughter. In my heart, she's my baby.
Yeah.
It's all about.
But I see a lot of me in her.
Yeah.
Like in the way she reacts to certain situations, how she fucking talks back to us sometimes,
Yeah.
like the stuff that I did, and it's wild. It's wild because it's like,
I can't ever see you talking back to anyone.
Well, and here's the
you
thing
were
I
so
realized.
chill growing up, like
well,
always.
yeah, but
He was like,
that's true. But
she don't necessarily talk. But so I had to come with the reality of this, like like I was a good kid.
Yeah.
But I did some shit in the background
right.
that like my parents never knew about.
Right.
And I turned out to be, in my opinion, a decent human being. Right. Contributor to society or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that I had to kind of come to terms with like Zoe as she's growing up. It's like, look, this kid is going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I just hope that as she grows, me and her mother instilled enough in her to where she still turns out to be a good person.
Yeah.
Your children are going to make mistakes, and I hate to interrupt you, but I'm going to say this. My son is, I think, the greatest child in the world. And I don't say that because he's my child. It's because He has never gotten in trouble. He got in trouble twice in his life. Twice. Okay, I got in trouble twice in a day.
Me too. Every
in
day.
my life.
Every day.
He was in a situation he wasn't sure how to handle, and the first person he called was me. And he talked to me about it, and I told him, okay, well, you need to do this and you do that. That's who you need to be, and that's who you need to be. Is you need to be that person to go, look, when you get in, and the day he was born, and Cheryl took a picture. I was talking to my son the day he was born. I said, look, I told him, I said, if you ever need anything, if you are scared, if you are worried, if you are, no matter what, I am the person you need to talk to. You don't need to talk to your friends. I want to be the one you come to. And one time in his life, he was a little bit concerned about something, and I'm the first person he called. And I walked him through it. I never had that.
Right. But
I had a military father.
We never. I don't think you had it.
I
I
had a military father,
No.
and I was every time. And I told my son this. I said every time I came home, and there was shaving, like when somebody shaved their beard in the sink, I knew my dad had a swing shift, which meant he wasn't gonna be home, and I was happy.
Yeah.
I never wanted my children to feel that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think and I'll say this. We all say we never had that. Look, kudos to my fucking mom. Like, nothing against her, but like, I wasn't going to talk to her about shit. And I damn sure wasn't going to talk to my dad because I respected him so much and feared him so much all in the same time that I was just happy to see him when I could see him. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's one of those things where it's like, I almost felt like I loved my parents. We had a good relationship, but you're almost living kind of like a double. Like, what they see is not like who you're portraying.
And
did you ever realize how much? Did you ever realize how much shit you got away with? And your parents, your parents knew it, but they let you get away with it.
My parents. The good thing about my dad was, and my mom, like, I already knew they were wild.
Right.
And they would start telling me that early on. I already did all this shit. Like, you ain't, and I didn't believe them at first. And then later on, I start hearing people and meeting people, and they're like, yeah.
Well, the difference between us, like, in my home situation is that they hadn't done that stuff.
Oh, okay.
My parents were like immigrants straight from Mexico. We're here to work.
Yes.
Education is big. And they thought, like, not saying that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, but there was stuff going on behind the scenes. Like, we were 16 years old, passed out on a fucking road down Bellevue.
Oh, yeah, we're doing
like, and that's what was that. They didn't know about that, but, and there was
they do now.
Yeah. There's a cultural thing, and then it was just weird. So, now, like, I've never had that talk with Zoe. Maybe I need to one day and be like, look, I've done all this
you know
shit.
what? Your children need to know that at one point in time, you were just like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't ever think that you were like them. You don't understand me, bro. I was there.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing.
I've held back from that sometimes. You don't even know.
You got to be careful for that.
Yeah,
you got to be careful with that stuff. But at the same time, you remember hearing that when you were young.
Yeah,
you were young.
Exactly.
You were like, you think you know everything.
And that's kind of like a moment when you say, "Fuck, my parents were right."
Well, yeah,
and you're like,
how much did they let me get away with?
Yeah.
How much did they look at me and go, "You're full of fucking shit."
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let you get away with it so that you think.
Well, you need to learn. You have to learn yourself. Someone can tell you, look, especially between the ages of 13 and 20. You know what I mean?
But how hard? Could you imagine how hard it would be to be growing up today?
Oh, it is.
With everything that they have, all the access to information,
hard.
The fucking internet in their hand. I cannot imagine growing up.
I get what you're saying, but that goes back to what we said.
Right.
That to us,
yes, to us,
this is nonsense. This is
nothing.
bullshit.
Right.
This is
to
fucking
them,
nothing.
Well,
the pressure and
it's like what depends on their build. It depends on their emotional build.
Right.
Are they someone who gets easily deterred?
Right.
Are they someone who's strong enough to resilient that can make it through anything?
Yeah.
So
Nobody is strong. No child, no adolescent is strong enough to deal with the pressure that comes from what is happening.
But we feel it. You're right. See, we're in a weird. All right, so we're in probably the most pivotal moment in technology advancement in the world. Like in the generations laid out before and after us.
Yeah.
Because we've seen no internet and we've seen internet.
Yeah.
We've seen no cell phone.
What's it called? The
And cell phone.
Oregon Trail generation.
Right.
We've seen the development. We've seen how everything is molded, how everything is transpired, how everything is like went from this to this, and so we're way more resilient.
Yes. But isn't it funny how it goes back to the conversation that we had earlier, where organizations and enterprises are doing all these things, and we're doing it at home.
Yeah.
We have to sympathize with our kids for shit that we might not necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
In order for them to,
because we have to approach. Am
I right? Am I right?
We have to approach them. We have to approach
Yeah.
them at a level that they can relate to.
Right.
We have to know that they're easily manipulated. So that's the one thing. At that age, how easy were we manipulated?
Exactly.
And if you had all these things coming from every direction at you, what do you choose?
Right.
Like there's fucking kids dressing up in like animal costumes and going to school is for some kind of identity. I heard this the other day.
Yeah.
And you have to accept everyone for who they. You know what I mean? I'm not picking fun at anyone. I'm just saying, there's all types of...
I am is bullshit.
Well, look, there's all types of people, and they're...
I want to wear a costume to work.
I know, right? But
because that's the thing. School is something. Work is something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that you have to sympathize with them, and that they're taking all type of influence from every single direction, and they're trying to bring it into their mind and make a decision. Okay. So you have to influence them.
But let me tell you this:
you have to be the person they trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you this though: how much harder is this? Everything we're talking about right now. We're stepfathers.
Yeah,
also.
we're not.
Put that shit on top of it. Yeah. And I hate using that term because in my mind, I'm Zoe's dad.
Right.
Yeah.
I raised that child. I don't care what nobody tells me.
I walked my daughter down the aisle.
Yeah. I've been there for every fucking step of the way.
And I send her pictures of us from 10 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, y'all was too fat. You're too skinny.
Yeah.
But I love my baby girl.
Right.
And I don't ever think there's been a moment that she's thought, and here's the funny thing. When we left Hawaii, her biological father, and his new wife or girlfriend were there at the airport. And her biological father was saying bye to her because we were moving here. And I went and I put my hand on his shoulder and I leaned down and said,
good shit.
Yeah.
I leaned down and I said, I'm going to take care of her. Don't worry. And I did. I from the day I married my wife, I married 3 women the day I got married to Cheryl. I married Cheryl, I married Lindsay, and I married Chelsea. Yeah. Because when you marry somebody who has, and if you marry a man who's got children, guess what? You are marrying those children. There is no separation between, I married you, you had children. No, you married me and these other people,
right?
Because this is what comes with the packet. There's
only a select few people who have that mentality.
Shit is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, what's weird for me is though, when me and Leanne start dating, I had a lot of friends that were still single.
Pause for a second. You want a good episode? Get his wife and my wife.
And my wife.
Yeah. Anyways, I had a lot of friends that were still.
Well, I'm not associating that podcast to this brand.
Leave that one.
That'll. Look, I love my wife, and she will fucking destroy my. Look, I love her, but holy shit, she'll kill it. I don't want to.
Yeah. No, anyway, so a lot of my friends were still single, and they would always say they'd be talking to someone and be like, yeah, but she's got a kid and all this other stuff, and it was. And then after me and Leanne got together, I think it would offend me. I never let anybody know this, but it was offensive to me. Because part of the reason that I cared about Leanne and that I loved Leanne so much is because I saw that interaction with her and her child.
Yeah, that's
exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Amen. So that's what I was bringing up earlier with my wife and our children.
Yes,
is that it's a different kind of love you feel for someone once you see how they love someone else.
Yes. Right.
You're like, they're telling me they love me.
Yeah.
If they love me, even a fragment of how much they love that, then holy shit, I'm the luckiest motherfucker on this planet. Right. I'm getting teary-eyed, man. My bad.
When my wife and I met,
it's true.
When my wife and I met, I was working. a lady she worked with, I worked with her husband, and they said, we're going to go out dancing. I was just supposed to be Cheryl's dance partner.
Yeah.
How, baby? Okay. So I was just supposed to be her dance partner because she loved to dance. And she's like, I can't go in with anybody. I don't have anybody to dance. And Jody was like, I know a guy. I got a guy. So, and she told me, she goes, hey, we're going to go out dancing. I know a lady, I know a girl, her name is Cheryl. She's got 2 kids. She's married, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know, whatever. I was single. I was fine. And then we went out that night, went to karaoke. My wife can sing, bro. I'm not even going there. But anyways, so we went to this place, and she sang, and I was like melting. But when I met Cheryl, Jody told me Cheryl has 2 children. Okay, I'm Mexican. Mexican women who have 2 kids. Okay, I met Cheryl, and she goes, "Hi, how are you?" And she was wearing jeans, this black top, and a black like over type that was kind of like lacy looking. And I was like, this woman has 2 kids. Damn. Okay, she is fine. So we ended up dancing the night, whatever, like that. But I realized, and then when Cheryl and I started our relationship together, I asked her a lot of questions because I didn't know. I'm like, what happens to a woman's body after they have children? Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, do they change? And she told me, she was honest with me. That's what I love about my wife is she's always been honest with me, even before we got married. She's like, well, this and this and this and that. And I'm like, oh, wow. And so when I married her, or when I met her, and then after we started dating, and I was like, look, this woman, I've always in my life, I knew I wanted a family. I knew I wanted children. This woman has already had 2 children, and she is the most incredible mother I've ever met in my life.
Exactly.
And I said, so guess what?
If you're going to have another
that's
one,
who
that's who I'm going to have it with. Exactly.
And I mean, like, what people don't understand sometimes is like the sacrifice that you as a person make. I think, like, so when me and Leah met, like, I was fucking wilding out, dude. I was running these streets. I was fucking like, dude, where are we going tonight? Where we partying? Yeah, where are we going tonight? Where are we partying, right? And then, so, you know, this whole different lifestyle. And then you jump into this relationship with this person that you see, like, man, she's a super good girl, super good, caring girl. She loves her child. She's goal-oriented, all these other things, what you would see in your future wife. And you say, okay, is this like...
So is that lazy or is that smart?
I don't know. You tell me. You know what I'm saying?
It's efficient.
I think a smart person knows a good thing when they see it.
Yeah,
exactly.
So then a different, you know, it's a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And even like simple things like, hey, a couple friends are going out to dinner. Do you want to go? No, I have the kids.
No, it's different.
Have the kids. And you have to kind of
notice what happens is like, so you start even when you start trying to be, and this is interesting too, when you start trying to get into business and be more serious, you start detaching yourself from people who make bad decisions,
right,
and who can't get up the next morning because you have a business to run,
right.
And then when you start bringing in a wife and children,
yes.
you start detaching from another group of people,
right,
because they don't have those either,
right.
or they're on their second lifetime to where they're grown, you know, depending on who you're hanging out with, and they're like, well, you can't hang out. I'm like, well, yeah, because I mean, honestly, I could still make the decision and go hang out with those people.
Exactly.
But why would I do that when my wife and kids are home and I have time to hang out with them?
Right.
Like they're going to be top priority if we're both in the same household at the same time and we don't have anything going on that day. I'm going to make that a priority to spend that time with them.
Exactly.
Now, if you have your work that day and I have my work that day, then okay, we'll just watch that day. But the days that we know that we don't have anything going on, why would I?
Right.
Why would I take away from that?
And then you take it to another level. Okay, here's another level. When your child that is not your blood has a child.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yeah.
I have a grandson named Hunter.
Yeah.
I've met him multiple times.
I met him too. He's hilarious.
My son is my favorite person to be with.
Yeah.
Love you, baby. My son is my favorite person to be with. My grandson is the love of my life.
Yeah.
We have no blood relation, but I would cut you into pieces and hide the bodies if you ever did anything to him. And he loves his pop-up. And this morning, My daughter's a nurse. Yeah, that's why you know her. My daughter's a nurse, and she drops them off to us in the morning because her and her husband work very early in the morning. And so this morning we were watching videos, and there was a video when he was less than a year old, and he was in the tub, and she said, "Show Pop-Up the face you were making." "Hi, Pop-Up." And he's like, when he heard Pop-Up, he lit up, okay? He has no idea or even gives a shit that her father is not me.
Right.
He knows that I love him.
Yep.
I love him with everything I have. And every time he sees me, and if he sees his Cece and his mom and Pop-Up, he goes to Pop-Up.
Yep.
"Hi, Pop-Up. I love you, Pop-Up." And I know he's probably going to be the only grandchild I have, I'd love Lindsay to have another child, but I know Sage doesn't want children because he just doesn't want children, and I'm fine with that.
Hey, I said that for 10 years.
I'm
you
fine
never
with that.
know. That will easily change.
Exactly.
That will easily
I'm not having any more.
He may meet some girl. He may meet some girl
my whole 20s and 30s
that speaks Japanese, that has a British accent, and he gets married to her. Fine.
Right
But
there.
my hunter is the love of my life, and I know that one day he's going to be the person, because him and I take a picture every year. When the day he was born, I'm holding him. He's holding my finger like this. Okay, so every year we take a picture of me holding him, and his hand is getting bigger on my finger. And one day, my hand is going to be around his finger.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be old, and I'm going to be the one who needs caring.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the one that needs to be taken care of. And I pray that he's going to be the one that picks up his Pop-Up and moves him to wherever Pop-Up needs to go.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, that's fine. But I love him with everything I am. And when your children have children, they are your grandchildren.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. They're your grandchildren.
Let me ask you this, and this is just me personally speaking. I'm more making a statement, and I just want to know if you agree. So everybody always told me there is no better when you have a child. That is the greatest love you will ever feel.
Yeah.
The best thing that will ever fucking happen to you. All right. So I was like, okay. So again, people are telling me this, but I have a child.
Yeah.
I have Zoe. I've raised her.
Right. You already
I
have
love
her,
her to death. Like, they can't understand this love that I have for this kid, because it's, to me, it's everything, right? So when Christian was born, I felt that love, like the greatest thing I had ever felt. But I had already felt that before with Zoe. It wasn't any different. And it wasn't any oh man, this is life-changing. No, I love this. I love Christian to death. Like, he is my world, but so is Zoe. So I don't, and I think that's why it's hard for people sometimes to understand that, you would love something that is not necessarily your blood.
I mean, it's just like,
you know what the good thing about love is? It's a choice.
Well, you know what wolves do? They imprint. So you imprint on someone. You choose that person is who you're going to love and who you're going to care about, and you do it. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It happens in nature. It happens. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it comes out of the person that you had a relationship with, vagina or not. It's
well,
still,
here's the thing.
You choose it.
My daughter went to airline high school. Okay, and you can ask anybody, any boy in her class, and some boys that come to my house. But one boy in her class said one time, and I love this. God, I love this. He said, "Don't go to Lindsay's house, because her dad will call the cops on you." And I did.
Yeah.
Do not treat your step or second or plus or bonus child any different than you would treat your own child. A boy came to my house uninvited and decided to go knock on my daughter's door. Well, guess what I did? I went outside and said, "Guess what? I called the cops on you. Get the fuck off my street."
Yeah.
And he did. But word got around, and they realized, look, don't mess with her, because her dad don't play around.
Yeah.
And a girl whose dad don't play around is so much better than anything could ever think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good thing. It's different than a preacher's child. You know what I mean? When you get that preacher's daughter thing, or you know what I mean? And nothing against religion or anything like that. I'm just saying, you get that vibe where oh, those girls are wild.
Well, see, my problem is I haven't been able to have these interactions. And I'm like, Zoe, even when she has had boyfriends, I'm like, why don't you bring him over? Let me meet him. And she's like, she calls me Zay. She's like, Zay, like,
Okay.
I don't know if they want to meet you.
I'm gonna tell you.
And I was like, why? And he's like, 'cause you're just this fucking big bearded dude. Like, they're kind of intimidated by you.
That's
my
probably
daughter.
a good thing.
No,
I think
I'm going
that's
to
a
say
good
this.
thing.
My daughter, the man she's been married to, the man I stood before God and gave her to, the day he came to my house and picked her up and took her on a date, I said, why don't you give me your phone number just in case anything happens? He goes, no problem. Why don't you give me your phone number in case I need to call you? Guess what? Trey Golden is my son-in-law. That's my baby girl's husband. You find a man who's willing to be the man your daughter needs. Do not ever say, oh, well, do not ever bend to their will. No, a boy or a man who wants to be or date your daughter or be the man in her life needs to go through you. If they don't go through you, they don't deserve her.
No, I agree. 100%. 100%.
Well, how old is she?
15.
Yeah, we got a while. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No,
Like-
no. You need now.
Right, I mean, yeah, but I'm
You
saying,
need damage.
right, yeah. I mean, but you're on it. Like, man, no one wants to bring their anybody around their parents. When they start doing it, you know it's something serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, they feel comfortable enough with that other individual that they can start letting you in.
Right.
I think there's a fine line between like when they had that interaction. Like when y'all had that interaction, I'm sure they'd been talking a while before.
Yeah, they've been
he
talking
met.
a while,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. So like they're
Dude,
This was in high school.
What's the fucking weirdest? Like, so in terms of things, like I'm a young dad. Like Zoe's 15, I'm 34. Like I'm a young dad. I'm still sort of in tune with certain things.
Yeah, you still
You know, and she'll bring like these friends around, and then I'll like catch myself being like, "That just really fucking say
Never
that."
think-
Like the
never-
ultimate fucking dad joke.
Never-
You know? Like,
Exactly. Dad, no, please, Dad, no,
It's
please,
like,
Dad, no.
fuck, you know,
I've had
like,
that
yeah,
so many times.
It's like, I know better. Like,
Here's the thing.
and it's like, if you try to understand them that you know, like it makes it even worse.
They would never believe that you know exactly what they feel because they think that what they feel is nobody's ever felt in the history of the world.
Right.
So all you have to do is be the man to say, you know what, baby girl, shit is going to happen. Okay, if you don't feel comfortable talking to your mom, talk to me. I'm here for you. If any boy or anybody gets out of line with you, you call me. You push. I will be there for you. I am the man to protect you. Not the man. Girls want to date guys, but they also need to feel that they're protected.
Yeah,
so if they know that you will protect them, although they get mad at you, I swear to God, and you can ask my daughter, there's a part of them that says, oh, thank God. I have a man who protects me no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be. And you have to sometimes swallow your pride. And you have to sometimes say, I don't think you should date him, but keep it to yourself. Because you are the person who's going to be there for them when everything else goes bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you.
I agree.
Yeah.
So what's our drink of choice here today?
Bro, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm about to take this home with me and tell him. I'm about to give him the $75 he paid for it and take this home with me because this stuff.
Oh man,
is
no,
amazing.
this right here is some Primo. It's Primo.
But I don't know. Here's the deal. This
And what we're talking about, we're talking about the
Casa Dragones.
Yes,
Casa
that's what we're
Dragones.
talking about. That's Primo today, and like Fortaleza is amazing too, by the way. And that
I think
reposados. Every single tequila we've had today has been great.
Yeah.
It's
With
been
a different
awesome.
flavor.
Everything.
But this one right here, I think it just caps it off, man. Like I think, and it's different too. Like when you start getting in the moment, you start
Yeah.
feeling the vibe.
Yeah, we're already hammered by the time
Yeah.
we get this.
No, but I
so,
also
yeah.
love what we built. Like this is called Tequila Talk, right?
Yeah.
But it's more of talk with tequila.
Yeah.
Like it's
Thank
not
you.
like
Thank
people
you.
are trying to. It's like,
We're
oh,
not
do y'all?
fucking-
Yeah,
we're not
do y'all review tequila?
Yeah,
like,
that's
no,
not a
we
tasting.
don't. I'll tell you if this is good or bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than
Yeah,
that,
we're not
like,
a tequila
you know,
tasting
we're
But
talking
today,
like-
it's all been very, very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is the one for the books because we've always had a little shoe in there that wasn't great, and not by choice. It just happened that way. You know what I mean?
So, but I think today. So, what have we learned today? We've learned that every tequila, at least these tequilas, can taste individual. They can taste different, but good. And we've also learned that we can change our minds, and it's not a bad thing to change your mind.
Yeah. I agree.
Agreed.
I'm going.
And love is something that you give. And if you love a woman who has 6, 8, 2, whatever many children she has, when you marry her, when you decide to spend the rest of your life with her, you understand that they are a part of your life. And women, I'm sure that, and forgive me for being sexist, but I'm sure there's women who date men who have children.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because mama was a psycho, so the daddy has them. Do not discount the value of having 2 or 3 children, because in a good soup, in a good stew, in a good
Gumbo.
thank you. The amount of ingredients add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And they flavor it and they make it better. So love who you want to love. Just because they don't have same blood flowing through their body does not mean that they are not. It means that they're not less.
Or if it's a dog.
Oh my God.
yeah. Or it's a dog, man.
Hey, I forgot to tell y'all this. I just want to mention this to y'all. So, we talked about like Hispanic family, no pets. We never grew up with any pets, never had anything. Here's the craziest shit. My brother is a veterinarian.
What?
Yes. We never fucking had and I'm so proud of this kid.
You never had a pet?
Never had a pet. And like, I love my little brother. I'm so proud of him. Like literally, I am.
Where's he
That
at?
is
He
awesome.
local?
He's in Houston now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. I was hoping that he would be here, and I'm like, oh, hey, you can take care of Franklin for free. But
Hey, can you take a look at my dog from me?
he got a job offer in Houston that he just couldn't
Yeah.
refuse. And like, to me, I was like, go for it, man. And but that's just what's wild. Like, even my mom was like, you don't want to like be a doctor for humans? And he's like, no, this is like something
It's
I'm passionate
hard.
about.
That's the hardest
and it's
doctor
like,
in the
wow,
world.
okay.
Because your patient cannot tell you what's
Who
wrong.
was that dude that we went to school with? That's dad was a veterinarian. I think he
Brandon Townsend.
Is he veterinarian now?
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, he was an awesome guy.
Yeah,
he was
he
always
was.
a
He
nice
was,
ass
yeah,
dude, bro.
yeah.
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 No, that you got to have a different heart there, man. Like, I'm not that guy. Look, and I will admit it. I'm just not. But like I said, I sympathize with anyone who loves anybody or anything. I don't give a shit what it is.
Well,
if you can feel love in your heart for something, I sympathize with you. I empathize with you. It just is what it is.
Dude, it was the most shocking thing to me because so growing up, I kind of had to break down some doors culturally. You do certain things, so I had to break down some doors. So I had certain life experiences in order to be per se successful that I had to adjust to, whether it was culturally or whatever. Because our parents, they knew work hard, but that's it.
That's it.
They knew work hard. They didn't know academically what needed to happen or what steps in life you needed to take to be where you needed to be. So luckily, as I got older, I was able to, through my trials and tribulations, to make it to where I am today. And in my opinion, I haven't made it very far compared to where I want to get. But I was able to instill some things in him and talk to him about like, hey, no, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to focus on. So I always knew he was going to be successful just because of the things that I was, telling him. But fuck, I would have never imagined that he was going to be a fucking veterinarian.
That's insane. Dude. That's insane.
Weird.
Well, I don't understand your guys' culture either, but just from what y'all said, I didn't know that was the thing. Like, isn't that so funny? Like, you don't know that's the thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, it's cultural. Yeah, it's very cultural.
But let me ask you this: so you were talking about that, and so Ben's a little bit older than you and
Thank
I.
you.
are.
I appreciate
no,
that.
No, that's
Let's
a good
go.
thing.
That's
It's a good thing. So
I'm 59, 49, yeah.
But no, so I don't know how old you are, bro, but I respect you, and this question comes out of pure respect. Is so like, at what point do you realize that it's not so much about reaching some type of scholastic goal or some type of monetary goal, but it's more about passion and love? Like, at what point do you start making that? Because I feel like it's starting to come with me already at this age, like to where that shit's not as important anymore.
When you say, I do,
Yeah,
that means you will.
right.
So the moment you marry that woman, the moment you marry that man, it means you're going to do whatever you would have done for the child that you had expected to have, for the relationship that you thought you would have. When you say before God and everybody, I do, that's when it starts.
But my question, I guess that does associate to this. My question is not so much in relationship, but it's in business. So what point in your life do you start realizing that it's not, the rat race is not so much important, and it's more about enjoying the moment is what I'm seeing, what I'm getting at.
I guess what he's saying is, at what point are you content?
Yeah.
Like saying, like, okay, I've accomplished this.
Not content. I don't think I'm never content.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
saying.
But
Yeah.
like, I'm happy in the moment, and now I'm just looking at the little things. It goes, here's my point. You quit looking at the big things, you start looking at the little things.
Yeah.
It's when you can. Bro, this shit is so good. Honestly, seriously, in business and in life, it's when you can say, I'm happy with what I've done today.
Yeah.
When you can go to work, you can do things you have to do, things in your life, things with your family, and say, I've done what I wanted to do, I've done the best I can, and let fate figure out the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when
That's true.
It's all good. Bro,
I'll take that. I'll take that.
This Casa de Rones is the best.
Look, it's amazing. I went back to the 1800 because at this point I'm just extremely surprised that it was good.
Yeah. No, we had all good stuff today.
And yeah, seriously, anybody
it's all
listening?
amazing.
We had a great episode last time. We had a great episode this time. But honestly, life is about who you choose to love. And I know you know this. Growing up Mexican, it's not about who you choose. It's about who God said is your family.
Oh shit!
This is your mom. This is your
shit.
This is your tia. This is your tío. This is your primo. This is your prima. You have to love them. Right. You know what? Guess what? I live in the South and I'm Baptist, so I can love who I want to love. I can choose to do what I want to do, and love is given. Love is never taken, and love your children. Love your family if you want to, but don't ever let anybody tell you you have to do something. You have to love somebody. You have to be a certain person, and love your daughter, because I guarantee you they're going to go through things that you never thought. Think about this, okay? I'm going to tell you both this as men. Think about you as a man, or as a child, or as a teenager. How they thought about women.
Oh, I was a motherfucker. I started like 13.
You wanted to get something. All you wanted was to get something. So tell your daughters, guess what? If they're not worthy, don't give it.
Yeah, because they're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But like, I know how I was.
Let them compare. Let them compare every man in their life to you and to you.
But it goes back to they're going to do things. They're going to.
Yep. You can't
certain
control
shit,
them.
You can't control them. You just hope that you instill enough in them that they turn out to be a good fucking person.
And it's time for you to stop this tequila.
We're gonna.
Hey, hammered.
Has he ever said that? No. Let's end it on a good note, though. Look, congratulations, Jose. Thanks for this rerun.
I'll tell you what. I admire you. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to take nothing and make it something. Do not give up.
Thank you. I never will. Never will.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Salud. Love you guys.
All right. That's a wrap.